thank you all for joining us. Today, I am Kimberly Wickert with the University of Kentucky Human Development Institute and Retain Kentucky. My visual description is a Gen X female with blonde shoulder-length hair and glasses. Today, wearing a cream sweater and a blue paisley scarf in front of a Retain virtual blue background. Transcription is enabled. You can disable it if you would like to do so. We also encourage you to participate by putting your comments in our chat, and we will be monitoring those throughout the presentation today. I will also be sending out certificates of attendance in the next few days to all attendees, and you can also find today's presentation as well as all of our employer seminar series recordings at Retain Kentucky Media. And Brandon is putting that information in the chat. And just as a reminder, if you have, if you know someone or work with someone who may be eligible for Retain Kentucky services, they need to be 18 or older, live in Kentucky, are currently working or have worked in the last 12 months, and have an injury or illness that is not work-related but impacts their ability to work. And we have the contact information where you can email us or visit us, our webpage, and help people get to us as well. Today, we're going to be talking about resources for employers, and this information and accompanying materials is for information purposes and may not reflect the views or opinions of the Employment First Council, University of Kentucky Human Development Institute, or individual employees. And we make every attempt to provide accessible and accurate information. I'm also excited to share our March Employment First and Retain Kentucky Employer Seminar Series. And it's employer supports for families with young children. And it's going to be on March 13th from noon to 12:45. And the registration link is also going in the chat. But our subject matter experts are Kate Dean and Bethany Davis from Child Care Aware. And they will share state and national resources for supporting employees with young children, examples of employer and child care partnerships in Kentucky, strategies to assess employee needs, and Kentucky-based resources that can assist those employees in those needs, and then Child Care Aware Kentucky programming and support for employers. So it's going to be chock full of great information, and I know child care is often a huge barrier for people to work. So join us if you're able. And then today, you're going to hear an introduction about employer resources for stay at and return to work and how you can access those resources. And I've already talked a little bit about how you can refer to Retain Kentucky. So we got one objective. So let's get to it. And please join me in welcoming Elizabeth Thompson. Elizabeth is, I refer to her as our Retain resource guru. And I also have nicknamed her our human elevator because Elizabeth, you are always elevating people and programs. And I'm so appreciative of that. Currently, you provide administrative support to our Retain program, and you contribute to several different committees, community programs, and individuals through this process. And you also co-coordinate HDI's Peer Disability Mentorship Program, which led to you pursuing a disability mentoring certification through the National Disability Mentoring Coalition. And you also hold your Universal Design Certificate through the Human Development Institute. So that is very impressive. And thank you for joining us today and sharing with everyone what you share with all of us within Retain. You truly are a font of information and share resources. So I'm going to turn it over to you and let you start sharing those resources.
Okay, thank you very much, Kimberly. Those were some very kind words. I'm very happy to be here today. 25 years or so ago, I served as a senior resource person for a 4-county public health district. There, I provided information and resources to individuals in their homes. the experience confirmed for me that there is always a want, a need, a want, a goal, or a dream to fulfill. So let's get started. And I hope that everyone takes away some new information with them. Evergreen Resources is used as a reference to evergreen plants. They retain their greenery all year round, remaining both fresh and vibrant throughout the seasons. Those are the same components that we will share with you today: well-established, quality content with many branches of information. The Employer Assistance and Resource Network on Disability Inclusion, otherwise known as EARN, is a resource designed for employers seeking to recruit, to hire, retain, and advance qualified employees with disabilities. It's a great resource. It is funded by the U.S. Department of Labor's Disability Employment Policy. Excuse me, I think I kind of got that wrong. Labor Office of Disability Employment Policy, under a cooperative agreement with the Viscardi Center. Okay. The Disability at Work framework shown here is one way for businesses to explore ways to create supportive workplace cultures. There's also you can also use the self-paced training and the webinars. Those are found on the EARN website, and they can be aligned to streamline your onboarding and your continuing education processes, therefore saving funds within the businesses.
Thank you, Elizabeth. One of the things that you prompted me to do when we were preparing for this was to go ahead and look at EARN again. And admittedly, I've been on the EARN site multiple times. And one of the things that jumped out at me, because I had the opportunity to participate in the Disability Hiring Academy earlier this month, was the employer resource groups and employer toolkits. And you can see the screenshot here where this informational toolkit was prepared in recognition of increasing number of employers expressing an interest in developing or even enhancing their disability employee resource groups. So regardless of the company size or industry, the best and most effective way to undertake or maintain new business initiatives is by learning from the success of others. And this toolkit outlines many steps. There are 12 on how to start, implement, and maintain disability employee resource groups or employee networks, affinity groups. And these groups are found in 90% of Fortune 500 companies. And this is just another screenshot of the website where you can find additional information, and then it takes you to the toolkit that walks employers through a step-by-step process to develop these employee resource groups. And it starts out by talking about getting the support of organizational leaders, creating partnership with diversity teams, and getting those employees involved, as well as developing a budget or maybe even securing funding for the employee resource group. The toolkit then goes to outline implementation steps, including how to name the group, identifying the mission and goals, designing a structure, and how the group can be an innovative business solution. As with any project, there are challenges, and this toolkit can help to overcome challenges to implementing an employee resource group. It's important to maintain momentum, and this is highlighted in step 10. And then finally, leveraging of relationships with other internal resource groups and measuring the success of ERGs. Even if an organization has an ERG for individuals with disabilities, this toolkit can be used to assess how effective it is or recharge a group that may have been around for a while. So I really felt like, based on some of the feedback and comments I've been hearing from employers recently, that this was a really good thing to highlight in our chat today. So thank you, Elizabeth, for that. And I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Okay, I do want to apologize. I forgot to provide my description I'm working in my home office today. I'm surrounded by bookshelves, excuse me, which are blurred out. I am an early Gen Xer who has light blonde hair, shoulder length, and I'm wearing a black sweater and an Art Deco type scarf that has multiple shades of blue, green, and white. Sorry about that. Okay, now onto our actual presentation. Now we're on to the Partnership on Employment and Accessible Technology. This is the website that is very, very valuable when you want to discuss technology. There are a lot of changes in technology. So within this partnership on employment and accessible technologies resources, there are digital accessibility tools. So they've done the work, they've done the background, they've done the research and pulled it together. And this is a way to foster inclusive electronic systems. And titles include accessibility playbook for emerging technology initiatives, AI and disability inclusion toolkit, policy matters, staff training toolkit, and by IT. Then there are 3 final ones: TalentWorks, Tech Check, and Telework and Accessibility. And in looking through those, they look like they would be a great resource for any business. The Job Accommodation Network, which I know some people have heard of before, serves both employees and employers. They've developed the Employer's Practical Guide, which is a reasonable accommodation during the hiring process guide. Employers can use this national consulting service free of charge. So basically, you have your own consulting team when you contact Jan. Their services are all spread out and available for you. They do offer a variety of training options for employers as well. Okay. Now, just a little bit more into my background. I'm going to take you to, before I came to HDI, I worked for the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation for about 8.5 years, which included work with the Kentucky Assistive Technology Service, known as CATS, KATS, CATS. The CATS network is one of 56 federally funded statewide assistive technology programs. They work to provide disability solutions through technology. Those solutions include assistive technology and durable medical equipment through reuse, which you'll hear a little bit more about later. They have AT lending library programs, sort of a try it before you buy it type situation, as well as demonstration centers where individuals can see, learn about, and try out all the latest in AT. An individual or someone assisting that person, including an employer, can click the Visit the AT Locator button shown on the bottom of this slide in blue. Okay. Now we come into, from the CATS landing page, we're going to navigate to this page, and we're going to find a variety of services, and especially one known as AT for All, Technology Locator. Individuals or others assisting an individual can borrow or find free equipment. Among the many options that they have, you can create your own search where it'll notify you when something's available. And accessing the equipment helps speed up the stay at work, return to work process for individuals, as they can pick up available items as quickly as the first day it's located, depending on if it's currently in stock. Just for a side story, someone borrowed crutches, and that happened when they broke their foot, laying flooring in their home. Then someone borrowed crutches when they broke their foot unloading dirt in their backyard. Someone borrowed crutches when they broke their foot catching their toe on a rubber entrance mat. Okay, I'm going to admit it. It was me. I am someone who borrowed crutches 3 times in 6 months.
I'm glad you're better, Elizabeth.
My doctor actually told me I had to stay out of my yard. I had to quit working in the yard. Okay. Now we come into one of the regional centers that we have. It's ours is in one of ours is in Lexington. It's HDI's Center for Assistive Technology Service, known as CATS with a C. That's why I pointed that out earlier. With this designated regional center, they maintain the Kentucky Disability Resource Guide. CATS Network also has a funding guide. These were actually still two of my favorite resources because they are so easy to use. They're easy to be downloaded as in an electronic copy and just keeping it on your computer's desktop. Then when someone calls or someone comes in, you can literally click into the resource, one of these resource guides, and do a search to locate what you need for that person while you're right there in front of them face to face. I used it a lot to attach to outgoing emails to share that information, or when someone, was injured, I would just send them the whole book. And often they found things that benefited other members of the family. I also would keep copies in areas of the building where people gather, such as the reception area and then the break and lunch rooms as well.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Someone had a question if we would post the links. What we're going to do is the resources are all within this slide deck, but we'll also send those out as a Word document when we send out the certificates of attendance, so everybody can have all the valuable resources that Elizabeth is talking about today.
Okay, now we are into Connect, which is specifically a Kentucky state benefits program for qualified individuals and families. It's easy to, think that the main thing they do is just, insurance, things like that, but they provide so many different resources. They also provide possible solutions to other social determinants, helping people focus on their jobs. Like if they have an elderly parent they need to care for, they can find some resources for that. This is one we all know, resources if someone needs help paying last month's heating bill, and many other resources that we literally could spend like all day on an individual slide here today. People in the workplace need solutions outside of their job, and this is one of the very good ways to start.
Thank you for highlighting this. And again, talking with employers, this, as you mentioned, is often what keeps people from being successful in their jobs, are some of these social determinants. And so by you highlighting this for our attendees today and employers who are watching this or maybe watching the recorded version, I think this is a great way for them to connect workers with these resources to overcome some of those barriers for them being successful in the workplace.
Absolutely. Okay. Once topic is chosen, you can further explore your choice. Now, we're not going to be able to do this live. We don't have anywhere near enough time, but a screen will come open where an individual can actually put in their address. Now, not just their address that they live at or, whatever. They can put, maybe the address they're going to be going to a family member's, but they can locate any type of resource that's available by that address or the zip code so that they can find the resources that matter to them where they are. And you can even choose your role as an employer. For employers who provide second chances and engage re-entry workers, there's information on your business, grants, and programs to help train the employee, the work opportunity tax credit for one, and also they provide background check information. But there are a lot of supports that may not be so easily accessed. But I really like how they pull this together and they do it by your zip code. Okay, and then we're on the final page because sometimes there are situations that may not fit easily into all these multiple other categories. So if someone's situation is different, they can click the blue button you see there. And next, there we go. And those individuals can provide an email address that they can access. That's very important. I can give you 10 email addresses, but I promise you I don't have the passwords to all of them. Okay. So at this point, they put in their information, and then a needs assessment can be provided for them that's customized to them. Talk about customized service, right? And here we have 211. 211 honestly is one of my favorites. I realized I had many favorites in doing this. 211 is a free and confidential service that connects people to resources and services in their area. Are you seeing that this is a common thread? 24 hours a day. This is the big benefit of 211. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Okay. Christmas, Easter, July 17th, whatever the day. Okay. An individual can call 211 from their phone, and they can text the zip code of where they're located, or, as I mentioned earlier, where they need services. Okay. So if they're across the state from, their mother who lives, way at the other end of Kentucky, they can text that location zip code. Okay. And then they also, if someone cannot, excuse me, I'm sorry, I sort of lost my train of thought there. They can text where they need services, and then they would text that to 898-211. Okay. And that's within the other information. Or they can visit the Kentucky211.org website. And from there, they can locate their county on a map of Kentucky, which makes it very easy. Okay. And we also, maybe we can share some additional information, maybe from Kentucky's website. There are some really good information on there for everyone.
Yes, and you found a video that we don't have time to share today, but we will also send that out in the resources by a person that 211 helped rebuild her life. And so it's just a real moving video. And I think, Elizabeth, it was less than 2 minutes, but it really is a great way to know how 211 can help people. And I will say, when I was a case manager, and I'm going to date myself, but back in the day, when everything wasn't online, I actually would print out like pages of 211 resources and just carry with me as I was meeting with people to be able to provide them with help. Sometimes it was, getting steel-toed boots for their job, or, finding food like you have listed here, but it really is a wealth of information and can help people get back on track. So thank you for sharing that. And I think you have a little bit more to say. So let's go on to the next slide.
Okay, awesome. And one of the things with resources, it's, we don't know the moment that we're going to help them. Okay. When I worked at the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, I carried cards in my wallet that had our information on it. And I had a gentleman give me a call back 2 years after I'd given him the card to let me know that he was still using it. I thought that was pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Okay. Now back to the points, back to 211. Okay. Just a couple of years ago in 2023, the United Way's 211 service received 15.4 million requests for help nationwide. Yes, that is an 8-digit figure, 15,400,000. I wonder how impressively large that number could be if everyone knew that they could call 211 for help getting connected. Here we see all 120 counties in Kentucky. They are all covered by 211 assistance. I counted. Yes, all of Kentucky's 120 counties are served. The United Way of the Bluegrass serves 92 counties in the blue shaded area, located at the eastern and western parts of Kentucky. United Way of Cincinnati serves 4 counties at the very top of Kentucky in yellow. And then we have the United Way of Southern Kentucky in green here at the bottom in the middle. And it it serves 10 counties, actually, is what they serve. And then, of course, in my area, I'm located in Louisville. Our Metro United Way area serves 14 counties in the red, right there, right in the middle. So it's easy to locate the assistance, and you can locate by county or by area. And of course, if someone calls they will always get them to where they need the help. Okay, I was just going to check in. How are we doing on time? And if we have any questions, anything like that?
We're doing well on time. I think we've answered the questions so far that are in the chat. And I think having had the opportunity to work in the stay at work, return to work arena nationally, I have to say, and I am biased, but Kentucky has so many phenomenal resources. And, when you and I were preparing for today, pulling together resources in a 45-minute time frame was hard to do. But I think this really gives employers and workforce professionals a starting point to be able to help their employees and their consumers and clients with whom they're working to help them stay at work or return to work. So thank you for giving us a introductory perspective of this.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll go ahead and let's move on to this one.
Okay. All right. We're showing here the Human Development Institute. Part of the reason it's so valuable to have the information and go through our website is that, we do have the 6 priority areas, but we find that HDI's mission is to advance efforts that include inclusive communities, address disparities, and improve the lives of all people who experience disability across the lifespan. HDI achieves that mission through leadership, community partnerships across Kentucky and the nation. Now, I read that almost verbatim because that inspires me to keep looking, to keep trying to find something new. And as we take a look at what we've got there, they've got those 6 areas where they focus the priorities, and it's on education, leadership, employment, health, universal design, and research. Okay. I believe I finished that one, Kimberly. Okay. Okay, there we go. When you take a look at the Human Development Institute's webpage, when you take a look at what's there, you'll notice that we have over 40 projects, including the Center for Assistive Technology, CATS with a C. And as I had mentioned that earlier, I just wanted to point that out. One of the things that's often confused is the CATS network with a K is the designated Kentucky Assistive Technology Service, okay? And CATS with a C is a regional, okay? And they serve the areas around Lexington, as I had mentioned earlier. You'll see many, many services and things under the projects in the different divisions.
And just thank you for that designation, because I know that is something that a lot of people may have had questions about. And just again, want to say how valuable the resource is for that. Like you mentioned earlier, someone to just come in and try, like I think we've had participants through Retain that needed a dome reader, and they were able to, try that out. Or like you said, the durable medical equipment, that can be really expensive to purchase, and maybe find out that really you didn't purchase the thing that you really need, right? So to be able to try those out is huge. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. And once we're from there, we're on to the projects page. And there are over, products page. There are over 180 products. And included within all of those, there are some wonderful products. But my favorite tends to be the Universal Design Checklist. That's, for employers to help guide the development and inclusive work environment for people with disabilities. And of course, anything you create as inclusive benefits everybody. And the Universal Design and Landscape Architecture sessions, those are another one of my favorites. Remember, I like to put dirt out in my yard and things like that. So I absolutely love that session as well. There's so many that you can find within there, including the, like today's seminar. You can find that in there.
Yeah. And we also have all of our employer toolkit information, like the Universal Design and the Workplace Checklist that you just mentioned, Elizabeth, on the kyretain.org website as well, under the employer resource section. So that's a great resource to have all of those. And I'm just going to take a second and check the chat here. We did have someone who asked as part of their registration about jobs that can be done remotely. And kind of given the current climate of folks going back into the office, the question was, how can we help people find jobs that can be done remotely? So some of these resources obviously can talk about ways that if somebody needs an accommodation to do remote work, especially Jan, that's huge, to be able to help support that. I know from just helping people look for jobs, if most of the job boards, either if it's with a corporation or the larger search engines, like career boards, you can usually filter them by remote work versus hybrid or in office or the location. So that's what I would provide as options at this point in time, to be able to help somebody find that remote work. I don't see any other questions.
Kimberly,
So
I would
yes,
like to add LinkedIn to your the information you just shared. And you can actually go in and do a search where it only sends you remote jobs. And they'll be daily or however often you'd like those.
I love it. Thank you so much. I think that'll be really helpful to people looking for those remote opportunities. So thank you for adding that. That's a great resource. I'm going to go ahead and this will also be in the information that is sent out to everyone. But these are ways that you can reach out to us at Retain. As I mentioned, our website is kyretain.org. You can also email us at retain@uky.edu. And we also have our participant screener that you can scan that code, and it asks if the individual meets our eligibility criteria, and then if so, it takes them into our intake queue.
Kimberly, do we still have someone with their hand up? It looks like Gloria's hand is still up.
Yes,
okay,
Gloria,
there we
if
go.
you have, oh, it went down. Okay.
Yeah.
If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put those in the chat. We do have a couple minutes left while we wrap up, and we'd welcome your comments or participation. We are going to include all of these resources in the information that we send out. And thank you, Elizabeth, for putting this all together. Like I said, we had limited time to share a lot of information. So you'll see some of the resources here. And then here's some of the resources continued. And basically you've broken that down also to be able to even create an account at CatsNet. So that's really great. That will help people who may be interested in being able to try out some of that assistive technology and durable medical equipment.
I would like to add that I did include the areas for some websites that allow you to create your own marketing materials using, their basic information. Like 211 has one. You can go in and choose how you want that. Of course, within limits. But there are some really great resources so that employers don't have to start from zero. They can start from experience. They're starting from the experience of proven programs and agencies. Anything that helps save time and money and provide quality information.
Absolutely. And that's really helpful. And again, having talked to employers who have valued employees come into their office and just need a little bit of help, maybe with transportation or childcare or elder care, or any of those other things that may be impacting their ability to be completely successful in the workplace. So these are all great ways that they can help those employees and team members and keep them as valued employees, because we know that employers work really hard not only to recruit those valued team members, but they need to work hard to retain them as well. And so I'm just really happy that you were able to spend some time with us today and give us a lot of really great resources and starting points that employers can do so. So I'm going to check, and I don't see any questions in the chat. And again, we will send out the resources, the slide deck, and the certificates of attendance in the next few days. You can also find this recording and all recordings at Retain Kentucky Media. And that was in the chat earlier, but we will send that out as well. And Elizabeth, thank you so much for sharing just a snippet of your wealth of information and knowledge, and giving everybody a little taste of what those of us who are at Retain Kentucky get to be able to benefit from your knowledge on a daily basis. So thank you for taking the time to put this together and spend with us today.